Now, the question is, who is Yogi Ramsuratkumar? Why should we chant his name? Why are you here to advocate this? You know that our country is called Bharat. The very word Bharat means a land that revels, that enjoys itself in the light of supreme knowledge. Bha means light. It is not just this light or that light, it is the light of the supreme knowledge. What a name to give to a country. We are that country. Yogi Ramsuratkumar Bhagavan used to say, it is the land, it's a Leela Bhumi of great masters. It is the playground of great masters. So here all the avatars have taken place. Rama was born, Krishna was born, Buddha was born. And I remember one particular anecdote that when Swami Vivekananda had gone to America, he said, before I came out of India, I thought the land was holy. But after coming into these countries, now I know the very air is holy. Not only the land, the soil is holy, the air is holy, everything about India is holy. And I believe when somebody asked him, mockingly, oh, we people have developed so much of science and technology here. What has India been doing for ages and ages? Immediately, Vivekananda, being Vivekananda, he said, pat came the reply from him. What has India been doing for ages and ages? Except producing sages. This is our land, Bharat. The land that revels in the divine light of supreme knowledge. And this is the land where great souls are being born. At any time you will find many, many Mahatmas, realized souls. Many of them would not come to the fore. They keep themselves in hiding and they do their bit of service to the mankind. Now, Tiruvannamalai in Tamil Nadu is one such place where the Mahatmas are drawn easily from different parts of the world because there's a mountain there. This mountain is called Arunachala. This mountain is Lord Shiva himself. So the whole of Tiruvannamalai is Garbha Griha. It's the sanctum sanctorum of Lord Shiva, the mountain. And there's a magnetic pull. True seekers of God are drawn to this place. The great rishis are drawn to this place. And from time to time, there will be living Mahatmas there, living masters. We knew in the beginning it was Seshadri Swami recently. There were other great Mahatmas from time immemorial, but people who are known to us, Seshadri Swami from Kanchipuram, Kamakshi, and after that Raman Maharishi came on the scene, from Madurai Meenakshi, and Yogi Ramsuratkumar is from Varanasi, a village near Varanasi, from Kasi Visalakshi. The three divine mothers, these three great saints, they did their spiritual ministry adding to the glory of the place, the temple city. Now, about Yogi Ramsuratkumar, whose nama we chanted, he was very unpredictable. He lived the life of a beggar in the streets, the dusty streets of Tiruvannamalai, with no shelter or food for 17 years. Nobody gave him food. Sometimes he would not get even a cup of tea. He would starve. But he was in such a state, for him everything was grace. You know how we do? In the beginning we pray to God, please give me this, give me that. And then only when he gives, we think it's grace. Oh, this God is very powerful, that God is very powerful. If you don't find him powerful, you go to another God. But you don't want to remain in LKG itself, so you have to grow out of it. So as you go to higher classes in sadhana, you begin to understand slowly that not getting what you want from God can also be grace. And finally, when there is so much refinement out of chanting the name and functioning as an instrument in the hands of God, you reach a state where you begin to see everything as grace. Whatever happens is only grace. Yogi Ramsuratkumar may not get anything at all, not even a cup of tea or coffee for 3 days. He would say, by Father's grace, this beggar did not get anything to eat. If he got a sumptuous meal, by Father's grace, somebody gave a sumptuous meal to this beggar. We come to the Mahatmas only to learn that we can also reach this state. Because all of us carry the same divine, the supreme divinity inside us. That is our true form. That our true nature is blissful, peaceful. But from that we have violated. We have fallen down to the earth, afflicted by our desires, and that's why we are in this helpless state. Now we have to get back to our original state. From the one, many have come. Now from the many to the one. This is the journey of our lives. So all of us must take up this sadhana of remembering the name of God, knowing that remembering the name is remembering God Himself, remembering God is living in God. And that way, it serves the purpose of your life. Bhagavan used to say, remembering God is dharma, forgetting God is adharma. What a strong statement. It's only when you forget God, you indulge in adharmic activities. Now, a word about Yogi Ramsuratkumar. These people, they are cosmic beings. There is no trace of selfishness in them, no sense of individuality in them. He went to Sri Aurobindo, and then he went to Sri Ramana Maharishi, and then to Papa Ramdas Vananda Ashram, got initiated into Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. And he chanted this mantra just 7 days and 7 nights, at the end of which he said Papa Ramdas killed him, murdered him. Meaning the ego was completely killed. And then they become cosmic beings. There is no sense of individuality left. They become unpredictable because it's only God's will at work. God's will acts through them directly. In us also, it's only God's will. Yogi Ramsuratkumar said, whatever happens, happens only by the divine will. You may think something, you may do something, but what you do is what He wills. You may think that by your will that you are doing it, but your will coincided with God's will. There is only God's will at work all the time. Whatever you will from the ego self is also His will. He wills that you will differently. You understand what I mean? It is only His will at work. We have to recognize that. And Yogiji said, whatever happens, happens for your spiritual growth. So it is grace. It happens because it's necessary. So when you go through some suffering in life, think that it is happening by the will of God for your own spiritual growth, for your own spiritual progress. And it is necessary. Please accept it without grumbling. No matter how negative it is while it's happening, if you bring in this thought, even this is a blessing from Him. It is meant for my transformation. You know what happens generally? God would wait and see whether you turn to Him or not. He would try to tell you through so many sources, please do this, please do that. And you say, oh, what God, what nonsense. And then you follow the Westerners. I shouldn't say Westerners because those Westerners come to Tiruvannamalai. They give up highly paid jobs. They come to Tiruvannamalai, they just, tie a dhoti around very carelessly. and put this vibhuti, go around chanting Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva. You see so many of them settled for years. Whereas what do? Our youth, the parents, it is by the wish of the parents. They spend so much money, they get a high loan, and they give them high education, and the youths, they go to foreign countries. They feel that life is very comfortable there, and they are highly paid. They don't want to come back. They settle down, and then they get married. The next generation forget their roots. They do not know to read their own language. They speak English like the Westerners, and the next generation is absolutely hopeless. They become one with the Western culture. This is what is happening. All those brilliant people are the brain drain. They are going to foreign countries to settle down because they want to earn more money. Those foreigners are coming down to India in search of God. It is one of the ironies of life. In any case, it's also Leela of God. Everything happens by His will. Even people who say there is no God, no God, no God, they are the tools in the hands of God. God is playing this Leela through them. So you don't have to be alarmed about it. So the thing is, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, once you become a cosmic being, there is only one will at work, and then you become like a straw in the wind. So you see, he was very unpredictable. You would never know what he would say next, what he would do next. But whatever he said, whatever he did, was perfect, and that was the best grace for all of us. It proved again and again and again. They don't have to use their brain at all. We have to. And he was doing a tremendous work. He called it Father's work. And then he sometimes gave Ramnam to some people, his own name to some people. And the name works for all of us, bringing in, as I said before, help, guidance and protection. So there are stories and stories and stories. I myself, I was a devotee of Ramakrishna Math. I even got initiated. But then when my master passed away, there was a vacuum. And I began to search for a realized soul. I used to pray. I used to pray to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that please give me, I must have somebody like you. And then when I found Shirdi Baba, I would pray to him, please give me a guru like you. And when I read Raman Maharishi, I would say, please, I must find a guru like you. Finally, I landed with Yogi Ramsuratkumar and I found he was all the three. He would sit like Raman Maharishi, like a stone, for hours together. He would be in deep samadhi. He would dance and sing merrily. Oh, Shri Rama, Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama. Or he would say Om Namah Shivaya, Arunachala Shiva. He would make the noise of Damaru with his mouth, and he would go to the cremation ground and he would dance and dance. He would jump from one slab to the other. It was the dance of Nataraja. And then, of course, Shirdi Baba, the way Yogi Ramsuratkumar dealt with the devotees was so much like Shirdi Baba. So I found all the three rolled into one form, that is Yogi Ramsuratkumar. There was a devotee by name Perumal Raju. Now before that, I would like to tell you my own experience. At the time I read Ramana literature so much. I was teaching in a college. I was fascinated by Ramana and his teachings. So I wanted to come to Ramanashram. We had 3 days, Christmas holidays. So I took 2 other teachers with me and then we landed in Ramanashram. But when I landed in Ramanashram first time, it was 7 or 7:30. There was absolute darkness, pitch darkness as we call it, everywhere because the current went off. And I was shocked to see the darkness. I ran inside to the meditation hall there was a picture, a photo of Raman Maharishi there. And there was a small mud lamp burning. I went and stood before him. I burst into sobs. I was crying so much. I said, Ramana, you are the sun of knowledge. But here, there is only darkness for me. Will I never find light in this life? When I cried out to him, suddenly it was dark around. There was only a mud lamp burning. The two eyes of Ramana began to glow. You can imagine, I was stunned. I just looked at it, that intense gaze of Ramana, glowing and looking into me, into my soul. And then as soon as I saw, I became so happy. The next minute, the lights came on. He became a photo again. But in that fraction of a second, when I saw the glowing, intense gaze of Ramana, I had everything. I knew, I felt very assured that this life was not going to be a waste. That I would serve the purpose of life, meaning I would attain God. It didn't matter to me whether I would attain God or not. What mattered to me that I should remember God all the time. So I very happily came out. Then the next day somebody told me about a living master there, and it happened to be Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So 5 times I went to him in those 3 days, but every time his door was locked and people would say he had just left it. He had gone to the temple, and then I would rush to the temple only to be told he had just left the temple. This Leela happened repeatedly 5 times. The 6th time, the people who came with me got tired. They did not want to come with me. But it's my nature, I don't easily give up. So I insisted that we would also go, because that was the only evening left. The next day I had to go to college. So I said, okay, this time also we would try. We would try our best. The rest is in the hands of God. So I took them, I dragged them with me, and I bought some apples. They said, no, every time we buy something and we end up eating it ourselves, we don't want to buy anything. They refused to buy it. But I pushed ahead. I bought some 4 apples, and this time the door was open. There was a crowd there, and then there was somebody coming out of the house, from the inside of the house. I could not see him clearly, but the presence was so huge and vibrant. The whole body the whole being began to react. You see, the body began to tremble. Tears were streaming down. And I didn't know what was happening. All thoughts left. And I just looked inside. I didn't see him properly because the tears. He came and stood there at the doorstep. He began to dismiss people quickly, saying, Ram, Ram. Ram, Ram, my father blesses you. Now you can go. This beggar has seen you. So immediately the whole crowd, went away with his blessings. And we were the last 3. And again I was just looking, standing there gaping at him. He looked at each one of us. My friend nudged me and said, look, he's going to dismiss us now. But I was in no position to hear anything, though I heard it. I just looked at him. He said, you come. He used to do like this. Come. And then he went inside. There's a veranda, a small veranda. We followed him. Now the presence not only was huge, it was so near. You can imagine the influence upon me. I was trembling even more that I dropped all the apples and they were rolling in all different directions. I was very clumsy. But then he shouted, he said, pick them up. They again asked clumsily, I picked them up. And then he opened the wooden door. He went inside, calling us inside. It's something we never expected. And when I went inside, what I saw was out of this world, not out of this world. It's a scene that we often see in the roads. It was like a dumping ground. The newspapers were all scattered about, and there was one heap of bottles of different sizes, the cigarette boxes and the match boxes, and then books were all scattered, like Pandora's box. And above all, there was his photograph. One particular photograph, they don't have here. They don't have it here. There were 17 of them hanging on the wall next to each other. I had visited many, many, many Mahatmas by then. I used to go for this Kumbh Mela and then would go to the Himalayas every year. I had seen varieties of different traditions, including the ferocious Nagas. But this I had never seen. A Mahatma hanging his own photos and 17 of them next to each other. The whole thing was very strange. But then I was in no mood to appreciate the individual details. And then he showed some space and he made them sit there. There was one particular chair. When I looked at it, it seemed very wobbly. I thought, how could anyone sit in such a chair? Is it a chair? And as soon as he got us seated, he went straight to the chair and brought it and put it before me and sat there like an emperor. You see, that is when I had a good look at him. He had 2 or 3 shawls on him of different colors, and they were torn here and there, hanging. His shirt was very dirty. His dhoti, which must have been very white, once upon a time had turned brown, and then from brown to black. And there was a carelessly thrown turban on his head. He sat there, he asked for our names, and when we said it, he looked straight into my eyes and said, "What do you want?" I repeat this story because some people asked me to repeat it. Otherwise I wouldn't be saying this. Then when he asked, I was going to do my PhD in one of the foreign countries. That was my ambition then. Though I was spiritually inclined, I had struck a balance between the two. But here, as soon as he asked me, I had no idea how it came out of my mouth. Before I knew, I said, "I want to see God." It's only when it came out, I knew that I had said it. This happens in the presence of a true jnani. As soon as he said, his reaction changed completely. He said, "What? You want to see God? Oh God." He put his hand on his head. Oh God. And then, there were 3 people seated next to us. He began to say, "Ganesha, do you know what she wants? She wants to see God." Oh God. And then he would slap his thigh, go into peals of laughter. That laughter was totally out of this earth. That was one thing I noticed. It was a pure laughter, untainted by any emotion. And the laughter that would catch you like fire, that everyone would become instantly happy, full of laughter. And then again, he called the next person, "Do you know what she wants? She wants to see God." Oh God. And then he looked at me. Now we know I was silently crying, but after he said this mocking Leela, I began to cry loudly. I began to sob. Now, he said, "You have come to this dirty beggar? This beggar has not seen God. How can this beggar help you? This beggar has not seen God." And again, he would slap his thigh, go into laughter, uproarious laughter, cascading laughter. Now, I was slowly sinking inside because I thought I was not competent enough even to utter such a thing. I was not qualified even to wish. So this is what he's exposing me, because I didn't know that I was so bad, that he was exposing me to myself. And then I was crying so much. And then he said, softened by this reaction, "This beggar has not seen God, But Devaki will see God. Devaki is a pure soul. She will see God. But this beggar has not seen. And he went on repeating it. The lady who was seated next to me, who refused to come in the first place but joined later, she said, she was inspired, and she said, Swami, we do not know whether we are pure or impure. But now that you have said it, this has become the truth from now on. Devaki is pure. See, who could have said that except by the inspiration from himself? She said the right thing. I could not have made it at all myself. But she said it, and as soon as she said it, his whole expression changed. You know, the hunkar, he raised his hand and he looked very penetratingly into my eyes and began to bless. That is when something happened to me. All the thoughts left, and there was a blissful peace permeating every pore of my body, every pore of my being. And I was completely drowning in that. I was drunk with the bliss of that. I sat there, and then as suddenly he brought his hand as he raised it, and then he began to play his leela again. Oh, she wants to see God. This beggar has not seen God. Oh God, she wants to see God. Again he started to slap. But this time I could not respond. There was a marked difference between the two. And then, as though the work was over, he stood up briskly. He walked towards a heap of bottles there, picked up one bottle and brought it. He said, get up, like a general. And then we stood up immediately. He opened it. There was sugar candy in it. He picked up one, and then he held it like this with a smile. All the three of us extended our hand, wishing it was for us. And then he put it into his own mouth and laughed mischievously. We felt very stupid. Again he put it, and he brought out one more. Now this time, we were very clever. We were not going to make ourselves stupid. So we held the face straight and hands also straight. We just looked at him without any expectation. Now he smiled again, and then he looked at me and said like this. So I extended my hand. He put it in my palm and said, take it. So immediately I put it into my mouth. And now he closed it. The other two woke up. They said, Swami. Then he said, no, that's not for you. And then he closed it. He took it back to the heap of bottles there. That was all that happened. After that, my whole life changed. You would never know when this would happen, but this can happen to anybody. If it is meant to happen to us, it will definitely happen. It doesn't matter, whatever we get, we have to preserve. Even the Nama is a great gift. If you recognize it for what it is, a great gift of Ashirvad from God, and you keep on chanting, take to it, seriously, vigorously, you will see how the Nama takes you into the depths of silence. It is chanting loudly in the beginning, but you will be totally unprepared when it happens. The chanting loudly with so many people can take you to the very depth of your being and merge you in the silence. Such is the power, such is the glory of Nama chanting. So this is it. One devotee came by name Perumal Raju. He was on his way to Tirupati. When he came to see Bhagavan, Bhagavan said, Perumal Raju, you are going to see Lord Venkatachalapati. Yes, Swami. And then he put his hand deep